Hey, welcome to another Toe Jam video.
Oh, God.
Today, playing with Landscape Noon and turning it into a drone machine instead of a drum machine. Yeah, it gets pretty wild. And it's going to get even more wild with the biggest fight. So, let's unpatch and then patch again. Now, as I'm doing this, I'll just tell you what little I understand about the Landscape Noon, which is probably just the things that you could easily find out on your own going to the Landscape website. It's a passive device. It's the number one thing people talk about. And that just means that, well, so there's 8 different circuits, and there's no power going in other than the things that you patch in. And what I've found is that a lot of Eurorack sources only operate at 5 volts when they could be boosted more than that. And honestly, I wasn't sure if I really liked the Noon all that much, but now that I've gotten the 10 volt signals going into it, I'm really starting to find out just how much it can do. The circuit through patching is also set up in a curious way where it encourages you to stack voltages so that you can get up to those higher voltages by combining multiple sources. So if you look here, there's a circle, and then there's a whole bunch of, we'll call them crescent moons. So you've got a full moon and a crescent moon array, but this is kind of confusing. It's not so clear, but like the ones that have little dots next to them represent the inputs, and the ones at the bottom and the top represent these uh, extra sources that can be fed in, and that's where the addition comes into play. So you've got, say, for example, just we do what it's really meant to do would be here. I'll set up this. This is the Ming-Chi voltage memory. It's really cool modules. Thank goodness it's still being made. But here we've got a gate output right here. Every time I touch a plate, we'll get a gate out. And I'll plug it into, let's do 5, for example. So that makes this light up, which indicates this is how much voltage is arriving. So if I turn this down, that attenuates how much voltage arrives. If I turn this up. So usually what people send into the Noon are these very short bursts. And then they sort of treat it like, well, yeah, like a drum synthesizer. And the circuits are crafted in such a way that a short burst will sort of charge up maybe a capacitor or something, or multiple capacitors. And then when it comes back down, they sort of, their energy is depleted, and then you get the other weird characteristics, and you end up with very glitchy, bizarre percussion. Here's another perfect example. So I'm getting most of the interesting sounds when I let go and the capacitor discharges. All right. But if I just attenuate this lower, eventually we'll get to a point where the capacitors can't quite be charged enough to sustain. And it's hard finding these sweet spots. Like, there's a lot of mystery in the new note. And apparently I can't even find it right now. Or maybe I need even more voltage to make that happen. Okay, so that's a thing. Let's try another one. 3. Ooh. Right. So like I said, I wasn't sure if I liked the Noon until I realized I needed to be playing it. So this is interesting, but if I'm only sending the same voltage level in, I'm always going to get the same result, and I'm missing out on another dimension. Yeah, so let's do input number 1. And the way the voltage memory works is every time you touch one of these plates, that's a preset. So preset 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, we'll call them. And so you can hear that coming on this preset, there's a higher voltage on output number 1 that makes the synth number 3 sort of come alive, and then whatever setting I have on this one makes it come back down again, which is not so different than what I was doing by touching. But here's where it gets interesting. See, these two values are different, and now it's playable more like a keyboard, because instead of bringing the voltage down so that it stops, I keep it going. I know that sounds so basic, but so this is number 3, and I'll hook it up to output 3. I've gotten 4 notes, and they're not perfectly in tune, but that's actually what the voltage memory is good at, I find. And then, where things get kind of weird and wacky, is if I use the biggest foot instead. This can start to illustrate what I'm talking about pretty well. So let me bring the crossfade down. We're in lefty mode. And if I start to bring sensitivity up, you'll start to hear what happens when you effectively feed LFOs into one of these sources. So it's not just an on or off. It's rising, it's falling, and the ceiling of that rise and fall I'm controlling with sensitivity. So at a low value, you're like down here. At a higher value, it'll be allowed to go a lot higher. Increase the speed. Record a little bit. Crossfade to the recording. And now we have a rhythm. We plug in another source. Number 2. I bring a little bit of lefty back in, now you've got variation. And now sensitivity controls overall intensity of the beat. Right? So let's connect the balance board, and then I can sort of make a rhythm with my feet, and then I can play it back. Let's go to board mode and scan for Bluetooth. And then connect up this. Whoa! Connect up the Wii balance board. Get it back in the frame here. Okay, so we did the calibration, and now I can control. Ooh, I want a fourth one. Maybe from the right side. I want the lower left to be well, apparently the top right is like my quiet spot. That's weird. Turn sensitivity down. That is so good. All right, let's. I'm gonna try to make like a rhythm out of it. Okay, so I can tap my heel. All right, so I'll have to get into kind of like a ham bone technique where I got one heel, I've got another heel, yeah, and then I'm gonna tap my toe over here. This is very difficult. So I'll do it slow and then I'll speed it up. How about that? No, let me start again. And it starts recording when you let go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 1. All right. So if I'll play that back. Bring in a little bit of myself again. That's wild. Okay, so the Noon's got two different outputs, and they are the even and the odd. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, so even in the odd signals, and I've got those going into the A and the B of the Rosie so that I can crossfade between the odd or even sides. I don't know if they have like relationships that are sort of related, but at least in this particular setup, one of them is more crunchy and one of them is more melodic. Crunchy and melodic, kind of. And then I've also got this filter from Destructo, or sorry, the Destructo filter from Hacker Boutique. This is a tube-based filter. It is not a great filter, if I'm being honest. It adds distortion, but the fact that it's got a tube means that doing any kind of low pass on Noon, I find, is a good idea because it's got so many like high frequencies that are kind of like my ears, and yeah. So I don't have it plugged in right now, but let's do these things. Part of the reason that this video have kind of a similar way of working. There's a fuel knob, and that's again kind of like I'll show you in Noon. Like it's like the more voltage you're feeding it, the more it can do work. You can maybe think of it like gain. There it is. So these are the audio. These are the CV control of the parameters. So yeah, this tube totally can help smooth things out. Now it's got a lot more bass. Alright, now I'm going to plug into the full moon right here. And activate full moon input on these inputs. Right, and as I turn this knob, it sends full moon signal to all of them. And that allows the voltages to add together, sort of like fuel over here. So I'm giving it more fuel. And as I do it per preset, I can have different motifs and move through a rhythm and melody combined. And of course I can crossfade and lean around to get even more color and variation. That's what I'm talking about. Alright, well that about does it for this Sodium video. It got kind of scrunchy and weird, but I think that's okay. There's a very short track that's going to be added to the Toe Jams album, which is on Bandcamp. Link is in the description down there somewhere. And there's other tracks from the previous videos. They're different than the recordings that you hear in the video, so check them out there. I've also got a Patreon if you want to get updates on the next module that I'm working on. And proceeds go towards equipment and things like I could probably use a better microphone than this one. and stuff like that. I know that I don't have the best video recording equipment, and I just work with what I have. Um, yeah, that'd be nice. Uh, and then there's no, that's pretty much it. Yeah. Bye. Bye.